Good morning, traders. Today is March 26th. It's Thursday, and let's take a look at the markets. Well, yesterday, the market performed pretty much the way I thought it would. It went up, it didn't go up high enough, and then it came back down. And today, we can see it's coming back down again. So if you look up above me here, you can see we have the IWM, which is the Russell. Now, long term, I do like the Russell for a comeback. It has pretty good structure, similar to the diamonds as well. Again, pretty good structure. It's down, but not as much as, let's say, the Qs or SPY, right? So NASDAQ is down a little bit more. SPY is down also a little bit more. Let's take a look at the actual underlying, and I'm going to pull those up. And so we can take a look at the trends over here. Let's bring it up. See what happened actually yesterday in the market and see if we don't find some levels for us today to trade. Okay, so this is the 1 hour chart, and you can see the past few weeks has been down and then sideways. Now today, again, we reached a top yesterday on the IWM, or the Russell, of about 2564. It's also the top of the value area, which I'm highlighting there. Now, the bottom of this value area is also around 2469.3. I have that labeled out over here. There's a lot of marks on this page, and so maybe it's a little bit confusing, but as we're looking through this, you can see that we are playing within this specific value area. We did not break across this value area gap to go back up. Now, the trend is slightly long. So on the 1 hour, channels 2 and 3 on my chart are upward while channel 1 is still downward. That downward channel indicates we're not done with our move. If we zoom out, we could see on the 4 hour that my channel 1 is up. So it looks like this could be holding a bottom like we did at 24.15, again marked out. And that was several days ago on the 22nd. Um, so that was already 4 days back. That was the bottom. We double tapped there. I think that's the bottom. So I would look for an entry long, possibly around this 24.55 to 24.15 level, and then try to ride it back up to 25.60 on a good news cycle. But at the moment, things are looking down. So I'm not trading this in a downward trade just because I am most likely a positive momentum trader. So I'll just look for something that has better alignment. Right now, I'm zooming in on the 30-minute so that you can see closer the range that we've been trading in. It's a very tight range between 24.69 and again back up to here, this 25.60 level. So we're right mid-range right now. It's not anything I can trade. I would either buy down here or sell from up here, but selling at 25.40 maybe, and then riding it down to this 2500 level. But I'm hoping that the 2500 level holds. I'm looking for this level logically to hold, and I think that would be a good thing. Let's take a look now at the diamonds, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And it looks like a little bit of a different picture. We've had several drives down, but we are holding this 46,000 level for the most part. Monday, it did dip down to 45,470. I was in that trade. I was holding it all the way down, riding it back up, broke even. But this was a flash crash, and we've come back down, and looks like we might revisit 46,000 again. So that's a possibility. But on my hourly chart, let's take a look what it looks like. Yeah, we have room to get down to 4670. So I think I'm going to look for a pullback today in the market. We're already down about 300 points on the Dow. It's only 0.7%. So we can normally have days of about a 1.5% move. And I don't have confidence that it won't come down to 46,000 on the Dow before it looks to go back up again. Well, today's news cycles are all about oil. And because of the war, the threats of oil supply is what's really threatening things. So you see the investment areas like in the S&P and the Nasdaq, where they're very reliant on the energy supply as well as financing rates. The tech gets hit hard a lot of times because just people are afraid that they don't have the volume then to continue their growth because they all work on very high growth cycles. Whereas, a lot of the more stable, boring stocks, let's say the boring companies, right? The Procter and Gamble's or ConAgra brand, um, they operate on slimmer margins and just turning a profit. So in a market like this, they may not get affected as much, and they are more in the Dow than they are in the S&P and the Nasdaq. So you could see the S&P does not look like it's such a good shape as the Dow or the Russell. It's been on a downtrend, clear downtrend, and we're at the bottom here at 65.72. That looks like it's a bottom that's been holding. Again, Monday we dropped all the way to 64.75. We're at the bottom of this value area. The trend is on my 1 hour on the channel 2 is positive, but the other channels are not, and that is not a good sign. Zooming out just a little bit wider, you can see all 3 of my channels are pointing downward. We're holding so far at about this 65.40 level, but I do think we will revisit that today. It is possible for us to revisit that. If it does, it's a really bad sign because we're going through this value area gap, and that is pretty scary because there's no support. What that means is that they're just not people interested in buying at this price, right? They're interested in buying here. They're interested in buying here for sure because that's the value area pivot point. But here, there's no volume, so it tends to move pretty quickly through these areas. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ and see if we have some levels on the NASDAQ. And, we can look at the cues just to see for trading the NASDAQ today, have a little different fun. Again, it's a very similar picture. We're on this sort of downtrend. It's been going more sideways, right? But it had a big pullback last week. Monday, we saw a low of 574, 573, actually. And now we came back up to the almost 600, not quite. We're pulling back. And it looks like we're going towards this 579 level. We broke below the low of Tuesday. So we have lower lows, lower highs, and it does not look very strong for the NASDAQ. So we would need to see some major miracle news for things to reverse out of here. Otherwise, I think it's going down. And if it goes down, there is the potential for quite a flush because if we zoom out, there's not a lot of action until we get down to this like 566 level, 567, you could see 570 right around here. There's a little bit more volume, but 570, there's a little bit of volume, right? But here we see this big gap. So we want to mind the gap, just kind of like at the train station. It could move quickly through this area and fall rather precipitously. So I want you to be careful as you trade today. If you're trading the NASDAQ or the S&P, they do have the potential to reverse pretty quickly. Overnight, the news covered that we had some news about the instability, and that caused at around 1 a.m. Oil to spike and things like gold to drop. So gold is off about 2.5%, silver's off 6.5%, platinum's off 4.5%. This is all coming out of yesterday's big rise, and it was a great opportunity yesterday to take advantage of that. We see that natural gas is still settling down here at 2.9, while on the other hand, oil is up 4% to $94 a barrel. Um, it's not as high as it was at over 100, but you can see now we are entering into that value area gap. So let me pull up oil real quick. So we can see this is what's disturbing the market. Oil was at $60 a barrel a month ago. Now we're at $94 a barrel. It makes everything very expensive. The range here is 86 on the bottom, all the way up to about 100 on the top. And currently we're at 94, so we're mid-range. If we're looking at the hourly chart, just to see the trend, we're pulling up close to the value area at 96. We may see continuation all the way back up to 100, but I would look to make maybe $1 or $2 on this and then have a tight stop if I was going to continue watching oil to see if it would run up. Let's take a look at natural gas, because natural gas doesn't have the same story exactly. Natural gas is down and it's trying to recover. We will see. I believe that this is because of the weather and the need for the natural gas at the moment is probably low. Plus, we have national reserves and we export. So I think it's not affecting natural gas as much right now. But long term, this should affect natural gas just as well. If we have this supply interruption, I believe, and I would like to see natural gas come back up at least to $3. So you could buy around here $2.90. I think something like a UNG, right? And just see if you hang on to it, maybe UNG will come back and recover back to that $13 level that we see up here, if not higher than it is now, right? Because we're basically at the bottom, and if you look at this chart in the hour, this is the bottom. Let's zoom out to the 4-hour. Again, we're pretty close to the bottom. Yeah. Yeah, 1170 is the bottom, more or less. So, gas is looking interesting. Overall, since August, yeah, we've held this level. Yeah. So it's been a while. Now you can see gas was much higher before, right? It was up at 22. So if we zoom out, you can see the price of gas has just been coming down, but for the last few years, we've been pretty steady. So we're just looking for little swings. We're not even looking for big recoveries back up to here. It'd be nice. It would be nice. Okay, let's take a look at the big chart and see if there's anything else we want to look at. Let's pull up silver, gold, and platinum, and Bitcoin. Take a look at those as well. So let's take a look at Bitcoin real quick, because Bitcoin overnight had pulled back a little bit, about a couple percent. We are stuck in that value area. As you can see, we charted out, and we are just not going anywhere. We are in between 73,000 and 65,000. That seems to be the range. Zoom into the 1 hour, and you can see a little bit tighter here. Again, 66 on the low side, 74 on the high side. We're at 69 right now. We have some support here. If it does not hold at this 69,000 level, then I would see it going down to 67,739 today. It could get a little bit lower even to this Fibonacci support at 67,435 if we continue pulling back. If we don't hold here, we may hold here. There's not significant news to pull this back, I believe. And on the 1 hour, you could see channels 2 and 3 are positive. It's just my channel 1 that's down. So we have this daily pullback. On the 4-hour chart, channel 1 is down, but 2 and 3 are up. So that's, again, it's pretty good. We're towards the bottom of the value area here at 66,000. So another 3,000 to get to the bottom of the value area, and 71,000 is the top. So it's another couple thousand up. We're mid-range. This is not where I would trade. So if you're in there, I'm kind of holding. That's about it with Bitcoin. Let's take a look at platinum real quick. Platinum is following a very similar trajectory to the Dow. And I could see a low here of around 1800 where we are. But it could continue. It could continue down. You can see all three channels are pointing down on the 4-hour. On the 1-hour, channel 2 is slightly positive, but 1 and 3 are negative. Just not a good sign. It's if this is not the bottom, then we continue down to this 1700, because mind the gap, there's nothing stopping it from going down. Right. So that's a little scary. Okay, let's pull up gold, MGC. And we see that it's been obeying this channel. Again, on the 4-hour, all three channels are pointing down, and it just dipped below the trend line support. It turned pink. You could see here on this trend speed analyzer. Let's zoom into the 1-hour. The channel 1 is down, channel 2 is up, channel 3 is down. So this is, again, a very mixed message. It's not something I want to play with. I'm holding gold. I'm going to continue holding gold because I believe that long term it will turn around. But as a day trade, this does not look good long. I'm looking for a short on gold. We're at 44.67. It can go down to 43.45 if it does not hold this level of 4,400. If it dips below 4,400, I believe it will continue down all the way to 4,300. That would be about a 100-point move on gold. Make a nice trade. We are a little bit oversold on the RSI, so maybe we can hold. We're down 2.5%. Gold lately has been moving very wildly, so it can move up to 3% a day on average, maybe at most 5% at most. We're at 2.5% move down already for the day, so I would hope to hold here. But we're at the top of this value area, which you can see it doesn't show like a lot of promise that it won't continue down to the bottom of the value area. I would look for a pullback to this 43.40 before I would go long on gold. Let's take a look at silver and see if this story's any different. Silver has a sort of similar story. We've had this downtrend. Again, last Sunday we had a dip. We've been holding $66 an ounce on silver. Right now we're at 67.8. I'd like to see 67 hold. If 67 holds, then we can reverse back up to 70 on the top or higher. But if it does not hold at 67, I'm looking for it to dump, come back down to 64. Right now, I do have silver long-term hold. I think it's going to be valuable, and we're going to need it for many different functions in the future. So I'm holding some silver, not a lot, just a little bit, just to hedge because of inflation. Silver happens to be something that's good against to hedge against inflation. Let's clear some of these lines out of here, the drawing set, so that I can just show you a little bit closer. This is a pretty big value area gap between about 80 and 73. So if we get up to this 74 level, I think if we break above 74, then we have a potential to go back up to 80s. But right now, we're down here. So just the opposite. If we break below here, then we have the potential to run all the way down. And that's what I see. All right. Thank you very much for looking at the market with me this morning. If there's anything that you want me to analyze, I'm happy to take a look at it. Let's take a look before I hang up. Just a few more items. We'll look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA pulled back a couple dollars overnight to 176. It was at 178 before. NVIDIA has been holding a range of about 186 to about this 175 range. They did dip down on Sunday when it down to 170, but that was really brief. And you can see we pushed right back up. So we have a nice wick over here if you would zoom out to like the daily candle. And then we're holding the support of 176. I'd like to see 176 hold for NVIDIA. If it doesn't, then I'm looking for it to pull back to 174. And if not, we could fall more precipitously, right? So we're looking for these value areas to play in between, right? So if I'm gonna buy NVIDIA or buy more NVIDIA, I would want to buy a couple dollars lower at like 174. If I was gonna go short, I might go short, if it dips more below here, right? Let's take a look at Micron. Micron also pulled back. This is a really bad streak for Micron. They zoomed up last week, and this is now one full week straight down, back down to support at 370. They do have a dividend coming up. They had earnings, which I think were okay. I think this is all just based on instability in the market. And you can see on the daily, they pulled back right to support, right to this 23.6 on the Fibonacci. And there's a value area that's huge over here, right? So we want to be mindful of that gap. But Micron Technologies, if it can hold this level, has the potential to continue. If not, you know what I'm looking at. That's a big, 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 big. I don't know which way to point, but it's that way. It's a big gap. Look at that. It's very scary on Micron. So let's be mindful of that. Let's take a look at AMD. AMD pulled back $5 overnight. It's at 215. It's pulled back to this like level of support, and there's a big high volume area here. We're right in the middle of it between the Fibonacci of the 23.6, which is at 221, and down here at 194. So we're really like mid-range, not buying, not selling until we see some, advantageous area where you can trade it. I'd like to get in down here under 200 and then hold Micron long term. So if you can get ideally 190 entry on Micron long term, that would be a great place, but it would be a significant pullback, which I don't want to see, but it's entirely possible on AMD. I'm sorry, this is AMD. Let's take a look at Intel. Intel pulled back $1 overnight. It's holding. Again, it's at the top of its range, so if we see some instability in the market, it can pull back all the way here to 43, maybe even 42. That would be an interesting entry for Intel. And I think it's this type of market requires you to be a little bit like play kangaroo. Get in here, hop in here, hop out here, hop in here, hop out there, hop in here, hop out there, that kind of thing. So this is a barcode market. You have to just take profit when you see it, and then let it wait for the next opportunity. Actually, you have to be very, very careful with that. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon pulled back a couple dollars overnight. It was at 211 at the close yesterday. It hit a high of 213. I was looking for it to break above 216 yesterday. It did not, and that's why it's pulling back again. I'm going to look for it to pull back at least to 206 at the moment, maybe 205. It's 209. It's 209 right now down. It's about $3 down. I could see today, and then we can look for the rebound again to 213. So this is your swing play, right? You buy Amazon at 205, or you buy something like AMCP, and you can just ride the swing. So when you see some profit, you take it, and when you don't, you just hang on, because we're going to hope that Amazon continues going strong for the time being. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla's off $5. It's at a support of 380. You could see it bounced off of a very long-term support of around 356. So I would like to see Tesla rebound from here. It's at the bottom of its value area. Channel 1 is down on the 1 hour. My channels 2 and 3 are up, so that's a good sign. On the 4 hour, we have all three channels pointing down though. So I would like to see it hold 376. We already slipped past this 382 support. 382 looked like a very strong support. It slipped past there. It bounced off of this long trend line that I had mapped out, but we're inside a value area gap, and that's kind of scary. So I'd like to see us get up above 390 on Tesla for a confirmation that maybe we are reversing. If not, we could come back down to 370, and that then from there I would like to see a springboard long. There is some interesting news with Tesla and SpaceX, so maybe we'll see some sort of rebound there. That would be really nice if we did. If not, I see this gap as being a very dangerous area where we could pull back to 350 for the next support, and if not lower. All right, that's the morning, and I'm going to take a look at some opportunities later in the day. This scanner I have has produced some amazing results. It's been finding some really cool things, and so I'm going to take a look at that later if you're interested as well. I have a new momentum indicator here that actually has been providing some interesting results. When I look at this chart, you could see, for example, Ionic. It's on a downtrend overall. It's all sorts of bearish, but it does have the potential for a reversal. On the other hand, the momentum is at 59 with a negative 4% run. What does that look like? And you can see we've had a very strong momentum down on Ionic, and I'm looking for it to hold here at around 31. If it can hold here, then I can see us rebounding back up to the 40s long term. Let's take a look at Nike long term. Very similar chart. We have earnings coming up. If you want to gamble on earnings on April 2nd, we're at 52 on the bottom, but it's been on a downtrend. Channel 1, 2, 3 are straight down. If we zoom out on the weekly just to see what that looks like, we are all the way at this support that we've held for years, since 2015. 45 seems to be that magnet, and 40 on the bottom side. Will we see that? Will Nike collapse? I don't know. But if it does, that would be significant. That would be a very, very significant pullback. Okay, let's take a look at some other assets that are on this list. That might be another opportunity to buy. So we have on our momentum chart here, things in the 20s. I like the things in the 20s over here. They have a nice possibility. I'm looking for something with a green trend. Nebius Systems, NBIS. Let's take a look at that. So on the weekly, you could see they're all the way up here, top of this value area, which it does look like it has a decent trend. On the 4-hour chart, we've been holding 113. I'm a little concerned because there is this magnet down here to 90, so it has the potential to reverse out. But channel 1 is down on the 4-hour while 2 and 3 are up. That's actually a good sign. Let's look at the 1 hour. On the 1-hour chart, we definitely have to hold this 111, 112 area. If we don't, where we are, we're at 112.90 right now. If we don't hold 112, there is the room for us to go down all the way here, right? All the way to 100. That's a big move down that we could really lose about 10% of the stock if it does not hold this level. So let's be a little bit careful here, but it does have the potential to reverse. So that's an interesting opportunity. ERII is something that I've been following, it not for a short-term trade. This is a very, very, very long-term trade. The idea is that they do water, they create clean drinking water from the air, and they make the parts for it. So in the Middle East, with all the war and everything else, they may need these types of devices. And so we're looking for, in the future, the stock to rise. I would like to get it under $10 and then just ride it back up. I would even just play the range. Like if you get in at around 9.8, you can get out at 11, big 10%, and just play the range. Anything else in here that looks interesting? We have some strongly positive stocks that have good momentum. PL, Planet Labs. Look at that. Last Thursday, I was actually looking at them. Then I said to myself, I'm going to wait till after earnings. They hit earnings, and it's been on an upward tear since. We pulled back just slightly since yesterday. I would like to see it pull back to about 33, and I would get long at 33 on Planet Labs. We're at 34.50, 34.65, 34.80, 34.80 right now on Planet Labs. So we're at 34.80 on Planet Labs. If it pulls back a little more, I wouldn't mind going long on it. I think it has some potential to continue, and you could see the momentum here I have is at around 26. It's strongly positive. The only thing that's a little bit sketchy to me is that we're at 95% of the daily, we're 95% of the yearly range for the stock. So it's bullish. I like bullish. I like continuing with the trend. I like looking things that have potential growth. Applied Materials, you could see it's green across my board here. It's at 20. It has this 3.5 on the momentum, and the next 24.5 delta is at 430, which is a 20% move. So let's take a look at what that looks like. It has potential to really rip up. It has a nice trend. It looks like this was a bottom, and it's going back up. I'd like to get in at 345. So it may pull back. If it doesn't, you could theoretically possibly go long here and look for a reversal out. I like the level of maybe during today's trading session. If we get down to this 357 level, there's a potential for us to bounce back up through this gap. Maybe we trade that gap. And let's take a look at Apple, because Apple's been having some fun lately. They're at 250. Interesting. Very similar kind of look. It looks like it's trying to find a bottom and reverse out. And we can let's look at Bloom Energy. Now this one has a 40% distance to 205. Bloom Energy looks like it has the potential to make a difference in your wallet if you get in at around 138. We're at 145 right now on Bloom Energy, but you could see this value area starts at around 135, goes all the way back up to 170, and we're sort of going sideways. So let's zoom in a little bit. The 4-hour chart, we have room to come back down to the 130. There is a gap here, so we have to mind this value area gap. But if we hit 130, there is the potential to go back up to 170. Let's look at the hourly. The dip in the last few days has pulled back to 137. So I would like to see 137 today. So it might pull back to 137 and then ride it back up to 165. And that would be how I would trade Bloom Energy, if not holding it for the long term. But right now, I don't see that. I see just day trading, so 165. Okay, thanks. Have a great day, everybody. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you have some friends that might be interested, send them the show. I have some great friends watching, and I appreciate your time and your attention. And happy trading and good luck.